Good morning and welcome to Eastrose Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Especially, I want to welcome any first-time visitors who may be with us. My name is Patty Walsh, and I will be the worship leader for today. Our speaker is our own Reverend Robin. She will be speaking in anticipation of Diwali, the Indian Festival of Lights. In her sermon of reflective vignettes about her time in community in Jabalpur, India, in 2018, Reverend Robin will share her journey of heart, spirit, service, and discovery. We are also fortunate to be joined today by some musicians who will be leading us in Kirtan, which is a form of call and response. So please, a special welcome for Hana Hattori, Michael Tank, and Christopher Drivers.
Christian Douglas.
Christian Douglas. Oh my God. That's embarrassing. Okay. Eastrose Fellowship sits on the occupied lands of the Clackamas Chinook people, who were forcibly displaced from this land to the Grand Ronde Reservation in 1855. We acknowledge the sacrifice endured by the ancestors of this land, and that our presence here today is only possible because of the injustices committed against them. We recognize the inherent sovereignty of the Chinook Nation and Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, who carry on the traditions, history, and legacy held by their ancestors from time immemorial to this day. We seek meaningful relationships with those communities that foster repair. And now it's time to turn and greet our neighbors. Let's take a moment to first rise and wave to the folks online at the camera in the back there. And now turn and greet your neighbors in the chapel. We can continue these conversations today after the service with coffee and tea and also some Diwali treats. Diwali treats are sweet pastry things. They're very good. I've sampled them all. For our online guests, if you would like to share a joy or concern during that part of the service, you can do so by entering that in the YouTube chat. They will be shared with everyone. I also encourage you to identify yourself in that chat so we can better acknowledge your presence with us. And now I ask you to join me in a communal call to worship. Words will be on the slides above. I will speak the words in yellow. You get to speak the words in white. And we're ready, okay. This is number 611, Brahman, in your gray hymnal, if you need that. Bravada Gita. I am the self that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. I am the beginning, the lifespan, and the end of all.
I am the radiant sun among the light givers. I am the mind, I am consciousness in the living.
I am death that snatches all. I also am the source of all that shall be born.
I am time without end. I am the sustainer. My face is everywhere.
I am the beginning, the middle, and the end in creation. I am the knowledge of things spiritual.
I am glory, prosperity, beautiful speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and forgiveness.
I am the divine seed of all lives. In this world, nothing, animate or inanimate, exists without me.
I am the strength of the strong. I am the purity of the good.
I am the knowledge of the knower. There is no limit to my divine manifestations.
Whatever in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have come forth from a fraction of my power and glory.
Reverend Robin will now light the chalice to these words. This chalice is for the living, the changing, the becoming. This chalice is for losing the script of your life, the chapters about who you are in other people's stories. This chalice is for the lost GPS that was supposed to show you how to get where they expected you to go. This chalice is for skipping the directions, coloring outside the lines, painting not by numbers, but by silence, by wild abandon. With a brush you made yourself from light deep inside. Starting, vivid, a new voice that already knows you. Finally, a true story. These are the words of Lee Kimvey.
Thank you, Patty. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So excited for us to be here today with special music and a special service highlighting Diwali and my time in India. And so pretty much the whole service centers on that theme. And the opening words is a poem by the 15th century Indian bhakti poet Kabir. It's called, "Are You Looking for Me?" Are you looking for me? Are you looking for me? I am in the next seat. My shoulder is against yours. You will not find me in the stupas, nor in Indian shrine rooms, or in synagogues or cathedrals, not in masses or kirtans, not in legs winding around your own neck, nor in eating nothing but vegetables. When you really look at me, you will see me instantly. You will find me in the tiniest house of time. Kabir says, "Student, tell me, what is the divine?" Answer, it is the breath inside the breath. Now our musicians will lead us in our first kirtan. It's called Ganapati Om, and Hana will share some words before we start.
Response way. So I will sing, and I want you to sing back, and it's a singing the name of singing the name of the beloved and the gods, and there are different names of it, and each one is a prayer, and it's just so much joy. And I would like you to sing with us. The first one we will sing to Ganesha, who is the elephant-headed deity, who represents new beginnings, knowledge, wisdom, and discernment. And he is most commonly known as the Lord of New Beginning. That's why we will sing to Ganesha before we start Kirtan usually. The words are Om Ganesha, Om Ganapati, Om. Om Ganesha, Om Ganapati, Om. Ganapati Om, Ganapati Om, Ganapati Om, Ganapati Om.
Ganapati Om, Ganapati Om, Ganapati Om, Ganapati Om.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Ganapataye Namaha.
We'll get it.
We'll get it. When you sing it, it's easier.
Oh
Thank you. That was wonderful. It's now is the time when we invite our young friends and the young at heart to come join us at the front, on the floor, right there, for our own family ministry coordinator to read a story.
Namaste is a word that carries profound meaning in Hindu tradition. When people join their palms together and say namaste, they're doing more than just saying hello. The word itself comes from nama, meaning to bow, and te, meaning to you. This simple greeting represents a beautiful recognition. The divine light in me honors the divine light in you. Today's story, Namaste is a Greeting, by Suma Subramaniam, tells us more about what namaste means. Through Sandhya Prabhat's illustrations, we will see a young girl who discovers the true spirit of namaste as she notices her lonely neighbor. As I read, watch on the screen how the pictures tell their own parallel story, one of compassion, connection, and the sacred in everyday moments. Namaste is a greeting. Namaste is a greeting, a smile, a friendship, a celebration. Namaste is, I bow to you. A yoga pose, a practice. Silence. Namaste is loving the world. Namaste is hello. Namaste is joining your palms together. Say namaste when you're happy or when you're feeling low. Namaste calms your heart when things aren't going right. Namaste is saying, you matter. Namaste is peace. It's a light, a path when the road is unclear. Say namaste and be still, or do something nice. Offer namaste to heal and comfort. Namaste is the divine in me honoring the divine in you. I hope you enjoyed today's story and lovely illustrations. And now, as we say goodbye to Reverend Robin and the adults, we'll go explore in our classroom. Wait here with me for just a moment while the adults along the center aisle form a bridge. And as they sing us out, we'll make our exit.
So I invite you now to uncross your arms and put your feet on the floor and take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Everybody's pretty much got their eyes closed, so nobody's looking at you. See if you can let go of whatever is holding you back from the relaxation that can come from this time in the service, the spaciousness you can create inside yourself. Just take a deep breath and a big exhale. Drop your shoulders, relax your jaw, your face. Feel where you're holding tension in your body, your arms, your torso, your solar plexus, all the way down to your feet. Just breathe. Begin your rhythmic breathing with 4 beats in through your nose slowly and 5 or 6 beats out through your mouth slowly. Create a rhythm, creating spaciousness, choosing peace, choosing joy, choosing ease. We'll just breathe together in silence. If your mind starts to wander or you start doing some high thinking, bring it back to your breath. 4 in through your nose, 5 or 6 out through your mouth. I offer these words from Dayakar Bhakti Ka, traditional Hindu prayer. Please bestow upon us, Supreme Soul, the gift of devotion. Please bestow upon our souls the gift of purity. Come into our meditation and reside in our eyes. Come into our dark hearts and arouse the supreme light. Namaste. And amen. Slowly come out of your breathing, and then one big exhale. Our second kirtan is entitled Shiva's Prayer.
So we'll sing to Shiva, known as the destroyer or the Lord of transformation. And Shiva represents transformation, death, and non-attachment, helping us to overcome our ego as we move into new ways of being, dissolving old beliefs that no longer serves us. So it's Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. It's slow, right?
Om Namah
This essay, entitled Why We Travel, was written by Pico Iyer in 2000, when we took the freedom to travel for granted. I offer an excerpt here. We travel initially to lose ourselves, and we travel next to find ourselves. We travel to open our hearts and eyes and learn more about the world than our newspapers can accommodate. We travel to bring what little we can in our ignorance and knowledge to those parts of the globe whose riches are differently dispersed. And we travel, in essence, to become fools again, to slow time down and get taken in, and fall in love once more. The beauty of the whole process was best described, perhaps, before people even took to frequent flying, by George Santayana in his essay, The Philosophy of Travel. We need sometimes, the Harvard philosopher wrote, to escape into open solitude, into aimlessness, into the moral holiday of running some pure hazard in order to sharpen the edge of life, to taste hardship and to be compelled to work desperately for a moment at no matter what. I like the stress on holidays that a moral, since we fall into our ethical habits as easily as into our beds at night. Few of us ever forget the connection between travel and travail. And I know that I travel in large part in search of hardship, both my own, which I want to feel, and others, which I want to see. Travel, in that sense, guides us towards a better balance of wisdom and compassion, of seeing the world clearly and yet feeling it truly. For seeing without feeling can obviously be uncaring, while feeling without seeing can be blind. We travel, then, in search of both self and anonymity. And, of course, in finding the one, we apprehend the other. Yet, for me, the great joy of traveling is simply the luxury of leaving all of my beliefs and certainties at home and seeing everything I thought I knew in a different light and from a crooked angle. The sovereign freedom of traveling comes from the fact that it whirls you around and turns you upside down and stands everything you took for granted on its head. We travel then in part to shake up our complacencies by seeing all the moral and political urgencies, the life and death dilemmas that we seldom have to face at home. And we travel to fill the gaps left by tomorrow's headlines. Travel is the best way we have of rescuing the humanity of places and saving them from abstraction and ideology. And in the process, we also get saved from abstraction ourselves and come to see how much we can bring to the places we visit and how much we can become a kind of carrier pigeon, an anti-Federal Express, if you like, in transporting back and forth what every culture needs. But more significantly, we carry values and beliefs and news to the places we go. And in many parts of the world, we become walking video screens and living newspapers, the only channels that can take people out of the censored limits of their homelands. So travel, for many of us, is a quest not just for the unknown, but for the unknowing. I, at least, travel in search of an innocent I that can return me to a more innocent self. And if travel is like love, it is, in the end, mostly because it's a heightened state of awareness. in which we are mindful, receptive, undimmed by familiarity, and ready to be transformed. That is why the best trips, the best love affairs, never really end.
Passages from India, memories, morals, and Diwali lights. In October of 2018, almost exactly 6 years ago, I traveled to Jabalpur, India, very much off the tourist map, sort of right in the middle of the country, to spend nearly 3 weeks at the Brahma Rishi Mission School with fellow Unitarian Universalist Lisa Teal. The memories, morals, and glow of the Diwali festival lights continue to shine brightly for me as I reflect on my experiences in the beautiful but brutal country that is India. In his essay, Why We Travel, that Patty just shared, Pico Iyer reminds us that we travel to find ourselves and to lose ourselves. We travel to open eyes and hearts, to bring what little we can in our ignorance and our knowledge to those parts of the globe whose riches are differently dispersed. Travel guides us toward a better balance of wisdom and compassion as we leave our beliefs and our certainties behind. And in all these ways, my passage to and from India has indeed enabled me to travel in search of an innocent eye and return transformed by love. Today, I'm wishing the people of India as happy a Diwali as possible, beginning on October 31st this year for 5 days, and that the festival truly brings about its intention for our planet, the spiritual victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. Passage number 1, arrival in an airport of mudras. Immediately upon arriving in India, you are hit with this sort of full sensory experience of being somewhere different. You have this combination of haze, an incessant smell of something that smells like something is burning, sweat, spices, and cow dung. A lot of cow dung. In addition to other things, you are sort of assaulted by the environment because it's so different from what you are used to, and it is hot. 90 to 92 degrees every single day, even in the shade. We arrive after a 16-hour flight from Toronto, and we stay in Delhi overnight, because there is only one flight on a small, sort of little commuter plane to Jabalpur every day. It's not on the tourist grid, it's in the center of the country. It's a traditional place where we wore traditional clothes, including the outfit I'm wearing now, including a chuni, a scarf that you're meant to wear to cover your neck because you're meant to be modest. I'm wearing it a little more comfortably today. In fact, this is one I wore regularly. We finally do get to the mission, and it's beautiful, and it has a garden, and it's presided over by Didi Gwaneshwari, or DDG, this robust woman of incredible humor, warmth, love, and political skills. She was quite a powerful combination and a fluent English speaker because she had gone to an English language school. Everybody greets everyone else there with their hands pressed together and says, Jai Virat, which means honor all beings, or literally victory to all living things. And after you have had Jai Virat, Robina ma'am, said to you by literally hundreds of little glowing faces every day at the school, it pretty much vanishes any negative thought you could possibly have. I feel myself coming back to life in a new sort of way after a couple days, but it's slow because I really am coming out of this very different rhythm and environment and sort of habits into something new, very new. But I make a commitment to be patient with myself and write in my journal every day, and I do in fact do that, exceeding greatly my expectations and what that would bring me, in addition to doing a meditation practice in the garden every day with this mala that DDG gave me the day I arrived. Life is very simple, but it's enriched in a special kind of way. A bath is taken with a large bucket and a small scoop if the water is hot, and if the water isn't hot, you heat the water, and you stand in the bathroom and you bathe yourself. The water using the scoop, and the water flows into a little drain in the corner, and then you squeegee the floor. And once I got the hang of it, it was great. By the time I left, this seemed to be the normal way to bathe yourself. Nobody complains about any of these things. Nobody says, the water isn't warm today. What's wrong with the water? Or the lights went out. What's wrong with the electrical system? There's kind of a flow to life that is very accepting and flexible. So I am overjoyed that I am going to live in community, in a real Indian community for 2.5 weeks. And I'm not sure what to expect, but community is what I received in every possible way. Passage number 2. Sacred cows in the passing lane. Cows in India are sacred to Hindus. I think we know that to some extent. They don't eat cows there. Most of them are vegetarian. And thousands of stray cows are wandering around India. I mean, thousands. Wherever they wish to roam, thank you very much, along with the many, many street dogs. They definitely occupy what I would call the top rung in the craziest traffic dance I have ever seen in my life. There are no traffic lights for the most part because it would actually muck up the works, and the pecking order is cows, cars, scooters, motorcycles, auto rickshaws, bicycles, people, and dogs. Oddly, this becomes completely normative to me after about a week. Cars flying, all these various elements moving through the streets, somehow slowing down and speeding up and passing on roads that are really barely only one lane and not necessarily paved. And you just stop holding your breath after a while because you assume that they know what they're doing. I never saw an accident. I never saw any road rage. 2 of the people that worked at the Brahma Rishi mission, Budu and Deepak, drove us anywhere we wanted or needed to go. We were very sheltered and protected by the people there in the sweetest possible way. And we were the only 2 non-Indian people I saw the entire time I was in Jabalpur. We got to know Budu in particular extremely well and came to trust his driving, even under the most difficult circumstances. As I said, there's no road rage because this is just the way they move around the city. And road rage, which seems very Western to me, really comes from the idea that I deserve to be in this spot and you don't. You weren't going fast enough. This is my space, and you're taking my space. Or you cut me off on purpose. It was personal. I will say the horn is a constant in traffic in India, but it isn't, like an angry horn. It's more of an informational honk. I'm on the side of you. I'm about to pass you. I don't want to hit you. Here I come across the road without any warning. Meanwhile, veering around cows, dogs, and people. You figure that in a country with 1.3 billion people, a civilization that has been around since 3200 BC, they've had to figure out some way to coexist. And traffic, to me, was the greatest metaphor for that when you're on the road in India. Because even though the place still has a caste system, and traffic has a caste system, you realize that if even one person in this scenario thought they were more important than the next, the whole thing would fall apart, and you would have gridlock and crack-ups every 3 feet. So I took away from this the moral or idea of a kind of harmony in which we don't think we're more important than the next person, and that everyone deserves to take up a little space on the road or in the room. While this was all going on, I was thinking about someone I knew back home in Pittsburgh, where I was living at the time, who after 2 minutes of this madness would have had an ego meltdown and might literally have had a cow. Passage number 3, birthday bash in the Chakra Ballroom. After a day with the students teaching them English, or at least attempting to teach them English, which turned out to be far more challenging than I expected, but enormously satisfying, Lisa and I went with DDG and Maitreya, who was another younger Swami at the mission, to this very posh, rich people's birthday party at one of the only really grand hotels in Jabalpur. It was held in the Chakra Ballroom, which made me laugh because it seemed like an oxymoron to me. I'm not sure which chakra. But the contrast was like a cold slap between the simplicity of the mission and the opulence of this ballroom. This party was a really surreal contrast to how we had spent part of the day on a boat ride at a place called Marble Rocks. And our boat looked like it had been welded back together about 100 times. So I'm looking around at all these people in their silks and their jewels, and they're big people. And most of the people in India are small people. I was tall, and I'm 5'6". They were big people, some of them quite robust people. They were rich people. And I looked around at them in their silks and jewels and this enormous buffet of food, and I feel contempt. And I asked myself, when did I become such a snob about rich people? I realized that this shindig, coming only a few days into my time there, would have fed thousands of the everyday Indians who live the most hardscrabble poverty you've ever seen in the most normalized way. You know the expression, he lives in a hole in the wall? Well, people live in a hole in the wall in India if they can find a hole in the wall to live in. It would have fed them a simple meal times 10, the kind of meal they tend to eat anyway, like dal or chapati. So I mentioned this to Lisa, who is on her 10th visit to the mission at this point, when we get back to our room, and she very objectively replies, it's all part of the picture. Those are the people who support the school and the hospice and all the other charities in Jabalpur. You have to have these people with money to support these causes. And I thought, wow, she's right about that, isn't she? Because I got to know some of those people better during the trip, and their devotion to the school and the hospice and the other needs of the city was beyond admirable. We even attended a fabulous Diwali party in one of their houses with live Bhagwan musicians. So this light bulb goes off over my head about this, and I thought, well, it's always worked this way, hasn't it? Since ancient times, we've always had class. We've always had some form of a caste system that has taken hold in our cultures. They exist everywhere. And I come back to the States vowing to find out why that has happened, when that happened, and if it can be transformed, or if indeed it's like the traffic metaphor, where these pieces fit together in a certain way for better or ill, mostly ill, as the wealth gap and cultural divide in America widens to the breaking point. Passage number 4. Dhanyavad. Oops, never mind. Hindu, Buddha, Bai, Krishna, and so many others that worked at the mission, that worked at the school and at the hospice. They cooked our meals, they drove us around, they generally cared for us in the most simple ways. They were servants. I even hate saying that word because they were servants that were so much a part of what felt like a family-like structure to me. And I had discomfort from my Western perspective, perhaps an overly woke lens about the whole thing. There was so much mutuality and respect among the people, regardless of all this, and really no weirdness at all in it. Hindu was like the Radar O'Reilly of the place, if you get the MASH reference. And he was on top of everything before you even needed it. And DDG was constantly calling him, Hindu, chai please, or Hindu, the hostel boys need you. I cried when I said goodbye to him. He was so endearing and wonderful. And the ease and readiness between the two of them was beautiful to see. I came to learn that Hindu had come to live at the school at a very young age. Many of the boys who lived in the hostel upstairs had come at an early age from villages or places in the city, and usually from quite abject poverty. So he had come to live at the school, this school that's funded by the rich people who had the birthday party, and ended up staying there to work, and there's just deep love and respect. His bride, Archina, also is now at the school, and she's studying to be a medical assistant. She's going to work at the hospice. They're from the same village, about an hour from Jabalpur, and it was an arranged marriage, still very common at all levels of society in India. She's very lovely. So the word for thank you in Hindu is dhanyavad. It was one of the words I first learned because I wanted to be able to say it. And then I was told I shouldn't say it to the people who worked at the mission. Quit saying thank you? What? I don't know how to stop saying thank you. Thank you is what you say when someone makes you a meal or does something nice for you. You say thank you. Lisa explained to me that every time I said thank you, I created distance between me and them, and that what they were doing for me was what was expected for them in a kind of beautiful harmony, and that I was the one creating formality and distance by saying dhanyavad. I thought about that. Here, I thought I was doing something that showed them respect as the serving class of the place, but in fact, what I was doing was creating awkwardness. So over time, I was able to move from saying dhanyavad to just smiling and showing appreciation by saying svadish, which means delicious, to compliment the food rather than thanking them for bringing it to me. I think the gratitude became evident, and just the feeling of gratitude for the space was so lovely and natural that dhanyavad really didn't need to be said. Can we feel and communicate gratitude in this way in the West? Passage number 5. I'm dreaming of an orange Diwali. I didn't realize Diwali was going to feel so much like that kind of preparation for Christmas kind of thing, but it did. The way folks prepared for it was sort of funny and familiar. There was this crazy last-minute shopping the day before Diwali, and the city became even more intensely charged. A lot of it is buying things from street vendors who sell only one item, like small clay lamps, like you see here, small clay lamps that I brought back from India. So they tend to have one thing that they sell, whether it's the small clay lamps or the oil that goes in them, because it's really just oil and wicks that they put in these lamps, and there's thousands of them everywhere. And marigolds, thousands of marigolds strung on string. I feel really lucky to have been there for Diwali, to experience that aspect of their life there, the preparations, the beautiful decorations, the Rangoli chalk painting on the sidewalk, and the lights everywhere. We took an overnight train trip to Bhopal, and an overnight Indian train is a whole nother story for another time, to see this amazing Shiva temple and painted caves. And when we came back the next day on the day train, it was the day before Diwali, and it was packed with people going home, just the way people here go home for Christmas and Thanksgiving, with their packages and their suitcases and their wrapped presents. I could really feel this sense of an idea of welcoming light back to the planet from the hovels and from the manor houses. One of the things that I was surprised to see was the prevalence of cell phones everywhere, including at the mission. Both Swamis had them. They had Facebook accounts too. But the real kicker was a priest came to lead a puja for Diwali, and puja is an elaborate ritual ceremony during which many items are placed on the altar: fruit, nuts, other things, and beads are draped around the statues, and there are all these balanced towers. I mean, it's very elaborate, beautiful, and it goes on and on. So, of course, it's a male priest, and he comes, and he's wearing all white. And I noticed him at one point during the puja checking his text messages. And I realized that modern culture had pretty much invaded everything. It also made me realize how I had romanticized things, spiritual things, that I thought I would see and do when I went to India. I think that I had myself inside that picture without factoring in that India is a modern place too. Even people standing outside, basically the hole they live in, we're talking on cell phones. It's then you see how technology has woven its way in, but the priest checking his text message, I think that sort of took the cake for me in between venerating Ganesha and staying current on who liked his Instagram. So, note to self, don't romanticize and project narratives onto things that you're going to experience. Just go and experience them. Diwali was joyful. DDG surprised Lisa and me by giving us Mendi as a gift. Mendi is, you've probably seen it in pictures, beautiful henna tattoo on the hands. It's temporary. It was a beautiful gift for her to give each of us as a way to celebrate Diwali. Passage number 6, Chitta Chitta Bang Bang. Chitta in yogic philosophy is one of the 4 aspects of consciousness, allowing our emotional reactions to experiences. This can be mind stuff or it can be heart stuff. I realized through my journal writing and lots of honest processing away from my regular life that we actually attract what we need to grow the seed of Chitta until it's time to bring forward that seed. That there are ways to move from pain and hard emotions to processing, to clarity, to more processing, to something almost like a neutralizing of those emotions without somehow ignoring them, minimizing them, or invalidating them. I think for me, this was the most transformative thing that happened to me on this journey, this deeper understanding and actual experience of taking hard emotions, hard situations, and chitta, and moving towards a place of greater neutralization and acceptance. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm very grateful for it. And finally, passage number 7, Arti Party, which I also call Sitting Shiva with Shiva. So you may recall there was a shooting in Pittsburgh while I was in India. It was at one of the synagogues in Squirrel Hill where I grew up. I've spent much time in that synagogue as I was raised Jewish, but luckily I didn't know anybody personally who was killed in this tragedy. But it was very hard to be away from Pittsburgh, and I even considered cutting my trip short and coming home. That's how hard it was to be separated from a community I know and love, going through something so horrific. I wanted to be there, yet I felt like I was able to follow what was happening pretty well and be brought there through various connections as I did my morning meditation. The meditation we had been taught to do by DDG was that I am, repeated 6 times and then starting over. That I am, that I am, that I am, that I am, using the mala. It became so clear during that ritual, that I am, a Jewish girl from Pittsburgh, sitting Shiva with Shiva, a long way from home. The day of the shooting, that night was the first night we had been taken down to the Ghat, the river, for the nightly arti party, prayer ritual. And it was the first time I bought one of these small biodegradable oil lamps that are made out of paper. They're filled with flowers and powder and a little oil lamp that you set out on the river with your prayers. So I set out several of those lamps. It's quite an elaborate ritual, and it happens every night. Hundreds of people come down to the river, not just our river, but rivers all over India for Arti, A-R-T-I. There's a Swami. There are people on platforms doing amazing things. There are candles. There's all this stuff. And I look around and I realize that ritual is not just something these people do. Ritual is who they are. It is them. It isn't what they do. That I am, that I am, that I am. I saw it there every night. And it just brought a whole new meaning to that meditation for me. To see ritual so naturally woven into people's lives at all levels of society, I asked myself, how do we in our culture, how do we in this community, this congregation, have ritual, worship, spirituality, not be what we do, but be who we are, woven more into our identity. I would say that aside from the chitta and the neutralizing of emotions, my biggest takeaway from this whole thing was love, just love. We create narratives in our lives that don't support our intentions. They don't support our desire to be close to people. We crave, we grasp, we want a smooth, unimpeded ride along the road. But what we often get is a metaphor for the traffic in Jabalpur, India. Auto rickshaws and stray dogs that are not going to obey because they annoy us and trigger our pain, guilt, loneliness, or contempt. Really, it sounds corny, but being in this community for almost 3 weeks and seeing the way Indian people seem to be with each other, I was brought back to the idea that we are love, essentially. And we can be love in an even greater way. We can open ourselves to the full sensory life of joy, sorrow, riches, trash strewn around us. I am game to take India even more inward and keep dodging the sacred cows. Joy is there everywhere, Tagore tells us. Beautiful joy. Jai Varat to you. Shanti and blessed be. Our final kirtan is Radhe Govinda.
So we'll sing to Radha and Krishna. So Radha is Krishna's feminine form. It's 2 bodies, but they are one soul. I've heard that Radha was created because Krishna wanted to experience the longing. So now that there's 2 bodies, they can long for each other. So Radhe, Radhe, Govinda, meaning love without expecting anything in return. And Govinda and Gopala are another names of Krishna. So it's Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. Oh, Radhe, 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 Govinda.
Radhe 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 Govinda, Radhe 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 Gopala.
Gopala.
I think that's it. And then it gets a little tricky with Govinda and Gopala, but you got it.
Radhe Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Gopala. Radhe Gopala. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Gopala. Radhe, Radhe Gopala. Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda. Radhe, 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 Radhe Gopala. Radhe Gopala. Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda. Radhe, 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 Radhe Gopala. Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda. Radhe, 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 Radhe Gopala. Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda. Radhe, 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 Radhe Gopala. Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda. Radhe, 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 Radhe Gopala. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. All together. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. One more time together. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda.
It is now time for the Sunday offering, our financial contribution to our beloved fellowship and community. Half of each week's Sunday collection is shared with a local nonprofit. This fourth quarter of the year, we are sharing the bounty with Maya Family Center. Maya Family Center serves self-identified Native Americans, infant to elder, from across the Portland, Oregon metropolitan area. Their aim is to enhance the diverse strengths of our youth and families in partnership with the community through cultural identity and education. Maya Family Center believes that traditional cultural values are integral to retaining sovereignty and building self-esteem. Maya values respect for the environment, places the larger community before the individual, and involves elders. They promote healthy living through positive alternatives to high-risk behavior, and they promote the values of sobriety, family stability, culture, active lifestyles, and education. If you are a first-time visitor, please let the basket pass you by. You are our guest today. To contribute, you can go to our website using the QR code on the slide. It's fast and easy. In these words of Erica Hewitt, the offering that we take each Sunday isn't a stale habit. It is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to this people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, we may say yes to the values of our faith. May our offering help us to practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. We now gratefully receive the gifts of this congregation. Please now join us in singing our hymn of gratitude, number 1010 in the hymnal. Till hymnal. We give thanks. The words will be on the screen. It's now time to extinguish the chalice. From Song 12 by Rabindranath Tagore, as we journey out to the world. The traveler has to knock at every alien door to come to his own, and one has to wander through all the outer worlds to reach the innermost shrine at the end. He says, "My eyes strayed far and wide before I shut them and said, 'Here art thou.' The question and the cry, 'Oh, where?' melt into the ears of 1,000 streams and deluge the world with a flood of assurance. I am."
Thank you, Patty. I want to thank our musicians today for being here with us. Hana, Christopher, and Michael, Patty, and Luna, our greeters, everyone who participated today. The benediction is by Tagore. It's called "Joy is Everywhere." Joy is everywhere. It is in the earth's green covering of grass, in the blue serenity of the sky, in the reckless exuberance of spring, and the severe abstinence of gray winter. In the living flesh that animates our bodily frame, in the perfect poise of the human figure, noble and upright, in living, in the exercise of our powers, in the acquisition of knowledge, in love. Joy is everywhere. And now we will hear a postlude from our musicians.
Is that us?
It says you.
Oh,
Loka?
We'll close with like 6. Loka samasta sukino bhavantu. May all beings be free and happy, and all beings, including all of us here. All of us.
thank you, Hannah, Michael, and Christopher. Also, thank you, Barbara and Luna. Thank you, Reverend Robin, for the fascinating sermon today. I do want to acknowledge that we know we've gone over. We felt like it was a good choice. And there are Diwali treats for you in the back as a reward. But first, I have announcements, of course. So the first announcement, there is a work party at Eastrose, November 2nd, 9 to 12. The weather says it'll be cool but dry. This is the busiest time of year for the yard cleanup, so we especially encourage you to come. Snowcap. Our Snowcap Day is on November 8th. That's 3 to 5, and that's a Friday. This is an opportunity to support our local community. Basically, we volunteer. We do what they ask us to do when we get there. Usually we pack food. It doesn't say this on here, but I'm going to say talk to Keen if you have any questions. And I have an announcement from Karen Pyle. Karen says, next Sunday, November 3rd, Tamara Henderson will be here with us. She's from Maya, the organization that we're supporting in this last quarter. She says to come here, Maya, give her a friendly welcome.
And lunch with the minister Tuesday, as always.
And lunch with the minister. I go to that sometimes. It's always different. It's always fun. And this one is from somebody that says apples and apple chips in the narthex. I can't figure out where those came from. Anyway, they're fantastic. Everybody here has had some already. Have some more. And we have more where that came from, by the way. Okay, the service is now ended. So join us in the back for coffee, tea, and treats. And those here at Eastrose are, of course, invited to remain for that. And we hope to see you next week. Bring a friend.